Okay guys, stop me if this sounds familiar or if this rings a bell. A really popular fragrance line just came out with a new flanker titled Elixir. Nah, I don't think that's happened too much, has it? It's just deja vu, right? Hey friends, Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Yes, a new Elixir is upon us. Giorgio Armani Code Elixir to be specific. So this one just dropped on Armani's website. I went ahead and picked myself a bottle to the tune of $165 US for a 50 ml size bottle. So yeah, it's a bit expensive, but that's pretty much how it goes with all Elixir flankers at this point. And in typical Elixir fashion, they are dropping it in the smaller size bottle to begin with. And I'm assuming if it's popular, then as time goes, they'll roll out the bigger size. At least that's how it went with Sauvage Elixir. Started it off with the smaller one. Now you can get it in a bigger one if you want. Same thing with Y Elixir. A lot of the Elixir releases are like that, so this is no different. And I know a lot of people out there are sick to death of Elixir as a flanker name, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's just a little tack on to the end of the name. So ultimately what's inside is what matters. You can get annoyed or frustrated that they're not picking new names or whatever, but at the end of the day, it smells how it smells. It doesn't matter if it's named Absolu, Profumo, or Elixir, or some combination of all of those. Absolu Elixir Parfum. I'll have this one linked in the description below in case you want to check it out. Again, as of this video, it's only available on Armani's website. I'm assuming it's gonna pop up at like Macy's, Sephora, Ulta, stores like that before too long. And I would imagine also at discounters probably just after that. Seems to be how this has been going lately with new releases. Like they hit stores, retailers, and like 2 weeks later they're at discounters, but it's only like a dozen bottles or something. Let's kick it off by taking a look at the presentation so you can see how it's gonna look if you pick yourself up a bottle, and then we'll jump into the fragrance and how it smells. So here we have the box. On the front you have the name of the house, name of the fragrance, and the size. I'm assuming that they say the concentration is Elixir since there is no concentration on the front of the box there. Let's check the bottom of the bottle. That is the smallest text I have ever seen in my life. Parfum. Up top you have the GA for Giorgio Armani. Nothing on one side, QR code on the other. On the back you have your ingredients, and actually that's where the concentration is hiding. Up at the very top, Parfum. On the bottom you have your badge code. Mine is 38Z100R, though the Z does look like a 2. And here we have the bottle. On the front there you can see a little plaque that says Armani Code Elixir. Trying to look a little fancier, a little bit nicer than your more typical code presentations. Little GA up on top, sticker on the bottom with your badge code, and the cap is indeed magnetic. And you also have a GA on top of the atomizer as well. So when it comes to Armani, Eau de Toilette, no magnetic cap. Eau de Parfum, no magnetic cap. Parfum, yes magnetic cap. Elixir, yes magnetic cap. Does that matter? Not really, but that's how they do it. The concentration goes up, the magnet goes up as well. Let's go ahead and do a couple sprays here. There we go, atomizer is fine. And I'm also gonna do a giveaway in today's video as well, a little Armani code action, but that is the Parfum. We'll do that later in the video. Now before we jump into the scent, and there is a lot to jump into here, I wanna share with you guys a bunch of different codes you can use to save money across a bunch of different websites. I wanna point out in particular the Gift Express code, which is 15% off the entire website. They're a discounter that has a bunch of different options there. Then also 10% off at the Perfume Box, which is another fantastic discounter with a lot of great deals specifically on cologne fragrances. Also have codes for Fragflex and JOMASHOP. The JOMASHOP ones only work within the app. And then of course, Max Aroma, Twisted Lily, and more. All right, let's dig into Code Elixir. So the Armani code line has been going through some changes. It's been going through puberty, I guess you could say, because the bottle styles, of course, have changed. So the old one looks like this, the new one like this. A lot of fragrances in the line were discontinued completely. Other fragrances didn't necessarily get discontinued in name, but they did in the fragrance. Specifically talking about Armani Code Eau de Parfum. When it was in this style bottle right here, it was a totally different fragrance than now in this style bottle right here. The new Armani Code Eau de Parfum actually smells similar to Code Profumo right here, which is a discontinued fragrance. So I was very interested to see which direction the Elixir would take, because the note breakdown doesn't really sound super interesting. It has but 4 notes: green mandarin, leather, tonka, and liquor, or a boozy accord. Though if you do go to the website for Armani, it says that the keynotes are actually just 3 of those. They leave out the liquor accord. And instead they have green mandarin, leather, and grilled tonka. Yeah, I guess roasted tonka, they just couldn't go with that one, so instead they were like, nah, like you're grilling it, dog. Okay, I guess that's one way to approach it. No hot dogs, we're grilling tonka beans. So yeah, note breakdown, not a whole lot going on, kind of boring. But when you spray this fragrance on, it will immediately remind you of another discontinued Armani code fragrance, which is this one, Code Absolu. This one, which is good news for me because I loved Code Absolu. It was my very favorite in the entire Code lineup. I enjoyed this more than Profumo. Now I know a lot of people preferred Profumo to this one, but I always thought that Absolu was like the pinnacle of that warm, sweet, sparkly, almost bubbly Code scent profile. Ultra sexy, sweet, playful, and a touch classy as well. And when this first hits your nose, when you first spray it on your skin, it's gonna remind you of the Absolu opening. So that's where that kind of green mandarin comes into play here with Code Elixir in a very similar fashion to Code Absolu. That zingy, bubbly, almost carbonated, sweet but warm and sexy scent profile. It shares that similarity with Code Absolu, and if you're familiar with this one, again, it is immediately apparent. Now that being said, while this will remind you of Code Absolu, and you could use this to scratch the Code Absolu itch if you have it, it's not the exact same. And actually they're closest in that opening salvo, the first 5 minutes or so. After they start to settle down, they do go their own directions. This is still similar to Code Absolu, but it's not the same. So how is it different then? Well, one of the biggest ways it's different is Code Elixir with that leather accord. It is way more prominent here than the suede that was in Code Absolu, because the suede in Code Absolu was kind of like a backing note. You know, it was there to provide some depth, provide like a juxtaposition against the vanilla, against that zingy, kind of like nutmeg citrus opening, the tonka bean. The suede was in here to just give it a little more backbone, like just that little masculine tinge of suede leather as it dried down. Whereas the leather in Code Elixir, way more prominent. Now don't get me wrong, it's not an animalic leather, it's not a harsh leather, it's a sugary, kind of sweet leather, but it is there, and it is right at the forefront. And it gives it more push, it gives it more pop in the opening and the mid, because that leather kind of just starts to come right up alongside those kind of zingy sweet notes from the opening. So whereas the suede here in Absolu kind of hangs back, the leather in Elixir right up there in the front, like I said. Now it definitely also has that kind of like nutmeg, warm spicy kind of vibe in Code Elixir, sweet spicy, that you're gonna find in Code Absolu. So even though there are no spicy notes in Code Elixir, they're there. They've just dumbed the note breakdown down, which is kind of par for the course nowadays, the dumbing down of note breakdowns, unfortunately, and that's going on here with Code Elixir. But you do pick some of that up in the fragrance, even if it's not officially listed. And interestingly enough, Orange Blossom in Code Absolu, something that never caught my attention in a big way. Like, it was there. Yes, when you were wearing the fragrance, it was there, but it's not what you focused on. But when you wear these side by side, you're like, oh, like the Orange Blossom you can pick up in Absolu easier when you smell it side by side with Elixir, because you're like, that's kind of what's not here, right? It just sounded like Borat. Not here. Now, even though there's a liquor note in Code Elixir, or it was announced as a liquor note, I don't necessarily get a big bunch of booziness from it. So if you were expecting the sweetness to hit that way, and I kind of was, it's not really overly prominent. At times, the leather in Code Elixir is slick, sweet, a little creamy also. It's bold, it's masculine, it's attention grabbing, it's a little bit darker than Code Absolu, which is not really a surprise, right? Code Elixir, and it's done up in this all black bottle, whereas this one was gold and black. But yeah, it has a little more of a darker lean to it, and that's gonna be because of that leather playing a more prominent role, as opposed to this one here, which had more of the the spices, the vanilla, the tonka, and even that orange blossom, which gave a nice little touch of freshness along the edge. So this one, to me, does have a little more of that, I guess, anytime versatility to it. But Code Elixir is still a fragrance that's pretty easy to pull off. Like, this is not anything that's, you know, crazy, outlandish or anything like that. Now, into the far dry down, they're still gonna have some similarities here, these two fragrances, because of course the prominent use of tonka. Officially, again, grilled tonka in Code Elixir, so you know, find like the tiniest waft of like a smoky aspect in there, but not very much, and it doesn't really bleed over into the leather for me. So again, it doesn't become this like hardcore type of leather scent. It maintains that sweetness. So my knee-jerk reaction the first time smelling this was, oh, this is Code Absolu. Just like Code Eau de Parfum, the new version, is kind of a new version of Code Profumo. And yes, it kind of is, but also no, it kind of isn't. Because in the opening, as I said, if I did not have this to spray and do a side-by-side, I would have been like, this smells like Absolu. They brought Absolu back, that's what it is. But when you spray them on side-by-side, you do pick up a lot of the differences. And so it becomes one of those things where, yes, this is similar to that, but no, this is not that. But I'm happy enough that it's close to this with a twist, because it gives me that kind of vibe, especially initially. And then as it dries down, it kind of becomes its own thing, so it's not completely redundant to own both of them. One other thing about Code Elixir that's different from Code Absolu is in the far dry down. Code Elixir still has more of that leathery aspect lingering around, but it also has kind of like a licorice kind of scent profile. So again, not part of the official note breakdown, but once you hit that far dry down, it does have a noticeable licorice undertone. In terms of similarities with Code Absolu, the tonka that comes across in Code Elixir in the dry down is pretty similar to how it's used in Absolu. But definitely that leathery licorice combo is gonna make this one stand apart a little bit more in the dry down compared to how, again, they smell more similar in the opening. So I guess in that aspect, it works out really well for me, especially considering how freaking awesome this thing smells, slash smelled, before they did a lot of that, man. If you collect or learn about fragrances for long enough, it is a guarantee that at some point a fragrance that you think is nearly perfect is going to be done away with. It is not fun. So that's kind of how this one comes across to me first impression wise, but what about performance, when you would wear it, all of that stuff? Well, believe it or not, Code Elixir, off my skin, outperforms Absolu. I'm not saying anything bad about you, I'm just what it is, you know? No, don't get me wrong, this stuff is fantastic. I don't care. It performs really well, but Elixir off my skin pushes harder, it projects longer, it lasts longer. And it is always tricky with Elixir fragrances because, you know, some people will say, oh, it's terrible, the performance is garbage, and other people will be like, it's a monster. And it just seems like, huh? It can't be both things, right? But off my skin, like I'm actually wearing both of these right now. If you do spray for spray. So I did 3 over here of this, 3 over here of this, and the Elixir, hours later, is still projecting harder than Absolu is. Yeah, it's very noticeable. And it's mainly that leather, like that leather that's in Code Elixir just seems to stick and stay. Now, I've only had it a couple days, to be fair, but in side-by-sides, this one is performing a bit better. Now, in terms of seasonality, this is gonna be more fall-winter for me. Daytime or evening, actually be a great evening fragrance. So maybe a little lean toward nighttime use, but I'll wear it during the day, I don't really care. Also early spring, but when it starts to heat up a lot, like right now, it may not work for you if you're looking for something, you know, more on the fresh, uplifting, refreshing side, because it's not really that. Again, to my taste, this one is a little bit fresher, owing to that orange blossom that's in there and the suede leather instead of like a black leather that you're gonna find in Elixir. So I'm sure you already know, but to me, Code Elixir smells fantastic. It's bringing me right back to the first time I smelled Code Absolu, but then it's like a choose your own adventure story and you flip it to a different page and go down a different path, right? So it's still the same story, but now it's unfolding in a little bit of a different way. That's kind of how Code Elixir is hitting for me compared to Code Absolu. You start off at the same spot, but then you start going a different direction, and maybe it starts to kind of come back together towards the end, but things were different along the way. To my taste, if you're a big fan of the Code line, specifically Code Absolu, it's not redundant because of those changes. Now, if you smell it and in the first 3 minutes decide it's the same, you know, they are close enough at that point that I would say, yeah, absolutely. Because just as an example, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy. I had my wife smell both of these off the top and she was like, they are crazy close. 30 minutes later, smell them again. Oh yeah, now they're their own thing. But they're still in that same family. Different, the same. Different, the same. Do I think though that they went back to Code Absolu and re-engineered it and made some tweaks, some changes to come up with Code Elixir? Yeah, I do. Just like with the new Code Eau de Parfum and Code Profumo, I'm pretty sure that's what was going on there. Same thing going on here, but it smells fantastic and the performance is there. My favorite is still Code Absolu, but you can't get this stuff. And so Code Elixir will do it for me. Different enough that it's kind of its own thing, but close enough that it scratches the itch. Let's do the giveaway. Code Parfum. It is a big old bottle, or I guess pretty big, 125 mils. So it's not like, you know, a 200 mil size bottle. Pretty big though. Obviously still sealed and everything. So if you want to be entered in the giveaway, you know the drill. Unless you're new. If you're new, hi. Thanks for hanging out until the end, new guy or girl, I guess. But yeah, Code Parfum. If you want to be entered in the giveaway, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. This is sacrilege, but in the comment, let me know which line needs an elixir next. The question is, can you find a line that doesn't have one? Or if you don't want to do that, just let me know which elixir is your favorite of all the elixirs that are out. Either one. I'll pick a winner with random comment picker posted up on the post tab of the channel the following month from when this video goes live, usually about halfway through the month, along with a lot of winners of other videos. Good luck. If you're the winner, just hit me up. I'll ship it to you. I want to thank you guys for hanging with me here today. Thanks so much. Take care of yourselves and stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.